Welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast, where we talk to C-level leaders from across the payments landscape. We'll be discussing the products and services that impact the payment space today, as well as trends and predictions for the future of payments. We will also hear stories from our guests about their journeys to the top.
There are folks that will continue doing what they've been doing for many, many years. The problem is that they just won't be able to compete in the digital world where everything has to be instant.
That was Adrian Talapan, CEO of Fee Navigator, and he is our special guest this week. This is episode 56 of the Leaders in Payments podcast, and I'm your host, Greg Myers. And hey, before we get started, if you happen to office in Houston, Austin, or North Texas, check out Fuse Workspace, where their mission is to help others do more. Check them out at fuseworkspace.com. Okay, back to the show. Adrian was born and grew up in Romania. He came to the U.S. through an opportunity to go to West Point. He started multiple companies in the healthcare space before launching Fee Navigator. Fee Navigator takes a merchant statement, whether scanned or a PDF, and produces in about 10 seconds a custom proposal. Fee Navigator doesn't process transactions, so they are neutral and focus on ISOs, acquirers, banks, ISVs, and more. They also offer a widget that can be added to a website to collect statements from prospects with minimal human interaction, thus creating a lead generator. Adrian has some great insights into the future of payments and provides some sage advice about adopting change. We've got a great episode today, so let's get started. Hi, Adrian. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast.
Thank you, Greg. It's a pleasure to be invited to join your show, and I look forward to hopefully contributing to your conversations.
Great. I'm sure it will be great. So let's dive right in. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself, maybe where you grew up, where you went to school, where you currently live, a few things like that.
So you may hear a bit of an accent in my voice. I'm originally from Romania. I remember I grew up there. We had a revolution in 1989 when we switched from communism to capitalism. And I remember the freedom comes with a lot of chaos, and it took a while until order got set in. But at that time, I got a chance to really explore what the world could be if you could do anything you wanted. I love the US. There was that show with J.R. Ewing. I think it was called Dallas. That was one of the first shows that we got in Romania. And I was hooked, like everything about the US. So my parents came from poor backgrounds. They were from the village. They went to the capital. What they were hoping for me was even better. And so I was in the military in Romania, in military high school, and they had just opened the possibility for Romania to compete for a slot at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And I said, hey, let me throw my hat in the ring, see what happens. And I was very fortunate to have been picked alongside another one of my colleagues from Romania. And we were the first two to ever come to West Point from Romania. So I got the full duty honor country, love the US, I love everything about this country. And it's just one of those things where you start there, you can't really fully go back to a chaotic and still very much communist-oriented place. So I ended up staying here. And I think I've been an entrepreneur almost right away.
Okay. And where did you go? Did you go to school after West Point?
After my first business, which was in drug development called Clarix, after we sold that, I was the CTO in that business, one of the three partners. I realized that I wanted to get more business foundation, business education. So I did Harvard Owner President Management Program that gave me really, from the highest level perspective, insight into how founders, how venture partners, how institutions look at businesses. And of course, I had the bottom-up approach, having been an entrepreneur before. So that's my education.
Okay. I thought I had seen where you went to Harvard, so I was trying to place where that fit in. And now currently you live in New York. Is that correct?
Actually, I live right outside Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah. Great. All right. Well, let's talk about Fee Navigator now. I mean, obviously, you're the CEO there. Tell our audience what Fee Navigator does.
Yeah. Fee Navigator is really unique in this space. We're the only company that is able to go from a merchant statement, either native PDF or scan, and produce in about 10 seconds a fully customized proposal ready to offer to the merchant. So, as many of you know, in the process of signing up a merchant, somewhere in there, you would want to see what margin is available with the current provider. Of course, you're going to, as a provider to merchants, you would offer a lot better services, products, but the price also has to be right. And you need to make sure that you'll be profitable. So understanding what the margin is and being able to offer something compelling to the merchant is important. And before us, you would have to have very deep industry knowledge about a gazillion of different statement types with different pricing types. And now with our technology, folks need to do is simply drag and drop a statement, pick the way they want to do their pricing structure, whether it's IC plus, flat, cash discount, what have you. And then boom, it's all done. And the system calculates automatically the profitability as well as any residuals that downstream partners can get access to. So it's really cool from that perspective. It fully automates leads, analysis, estimates. It's sort of a cog in this new electronic world that we're heading towards.
Sure. And who are your typical customers?
Typically, we work with ISOs, acquirers, banks, ISVs, technology providers, and sort of anybody around them, their affiliates, this ecosystem. So we help them become more efficient and respond faster to opportunities.
Okay. And I would assume it could be in any vertical. It doesn't have to be a certain vertical. It could be a retail, it could be online, anything like that, right?
Yeah, it's a technology platform. So it's universal. And we have partners that operate in many different verticals. So if you're looking for automating payments, there's this stop in between of coming across a merchant statement and understanding, okay, what is the current margin available in this statement? And you have to deal with, is there padding on top of the interchange? Is there padding on top of dues and assessments? Is there an opportunity for interchange optimization? So you need to have a lot of knowledge to really be specific here. And even if you have the knowledge, it's very time consuming. So you cannot automate this process currently. And without technology, we have an API, so you can imagine whatever process that you want, and it can be fully automated because this step will no longer stop you in the process. Later this year, we'll be introducing the AI virtual agent, which we call AVA, which literally allows you with 2 lines of code to sort of put out technology on your website, and then any merchant that comes in can get a customized proposal from you in seconds. So you can focus on relationship building, on consultancy, and not worry about the number crunching. You'll make sure that you'll be profitable, and the merchants will be very happy with the response from you.
It's interesting because in my career, so I've been in payments 15 years, I remember multiple times doing ride-alongs with salespeople, always like to get out in the field and talk to prospects and customers. And I remember multiple times being on a sales call and the salesperson sort of does the whole pitch. And then they say, it'd be great if I could get your statement. We can look at it, see where we can save you money, da, 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 da. And I remember it was like they would take the statement and say, we'll get back to you with a proposal, say in 2 or 3 days. And you guys have sort of taken from 2 or 3 days to 10 seconds.
Yeah. And not only that, we recognize that you're actually having a conversation with the merchant right there, right? So you don't want to pull up a computer. So literally all you have to do is tell the merchant, hey, you have a statement? Great. Why don't you forward it to my bot, say greg@feenav.com. And then the bot does the work and sends you in your personal inbox the analysis and the full proposal. So then you literally, once the phone vibrates, you pull it up and you click on the PDF and you show the merchant, how does this look like? And the whole thing via the bot, because it's also sending the email through the internet from wherever the merchant technology has, that takes about 20, 25 seconds. So And of course, if the merchant doesn't have a merchant statement yet, because perhaps they're new or they're not comfortable yet to share that with you, you have an instant estimate. So just get three numbers from the merchant and you'll still be able to give them an approximation of, hey, this is what it would kind of look like, what your proposal would kind of look like. What do you think? So the whole sales cycle gets compressed to literally seconds. So put the numbers behind and really focus on the rapport building and what you can really do for that merchant.
Right, right. So talk a little bit about how the company was started and founding. It's kind of an interesting backstory, if you don't mind sharing that.
Sure. So my business partner, Ian Christian, who, like you, Greg, has been in the industry for, I think he's been like 18 years with First Data. He won the Chairman's Trophy multiple years. Just fantastic professional. He had this idea of, hey, let me try to automate this because I know it would be something that can benefit the industry a lot. So he put a team together to make that happen, but it's a very difficult problem to solve. We've heard from the marketplace that many have tried, and it's just very, very difficult because you essentially have to put together an expert system that's like built on a ton of rules if you take the traditional route, or you figure out a way to get AI to learn all these rules and be smart about it. So you kind of have to bring deep industry expertise with deep technology expertise. So while my partner, Ian, had the deep industry expertise, he unfortunately didn't have the team to execute. So after I sold my recent company, Haystack Informatics, which was in healthcare, we were dealing with billions of data points. And coming to this world where we start with just a few was kind of a fun, interesting change of pace. But what we ended up doing was I partnered with Ian. So his company was Fee Notice. We rebranded Fee Navigator, and we proceeded to rebuild this technology from scratch. And then let's see. So we were founded in March last year. We turned on the switch end of October, beginning of November last year. We won the New England Acquirers Association competition in February. We now have thousands of different statement types that we support with all sorts of different pricing. And actually, we have a listing on our website for many of these ISOs that we support. And just in a few days, we're turning the switch on to the latest release that we have, the Compass release, which goes way beyond statement analysis, which was what we had before. So instead of us showing you, okay, well, here's what's in the statement, you go ahead and do your own proposal, put your own numbers and create your own proposal and go to the merchant. Instead of all of that, now the system does it all in seconds. So you put your pricing in once, and then that's it. You know, everything in one step, which we're really psyched about it. It's something that we wanted to do from the beginning, but we just couldn't get to this point right away because we needed to train the platform to learn all this variety of statements out there. And the feedback that we received when we've shown this version has been really tremendous. Not that the old version was not liked by folks. We have lots of people that are using the platform and they love it, but we like to push the envelope on what is possible through technology and automation. So very psyched starting the year with really going from statement to full proposal, custom proposal with branding, with however format you want in literally seconds. So yeah.
That's going to save a lot of time and effort for people for sure. So talk a little bit about the business model. So how do you guys make money?
We actually have a free plan for anybody that wants to capture leads. They can put a little widget on their website and they can put it in their email signature. And anytime they engage with the merchant, it provides the merchant opportunity to drop a statement and it gets to the owner of this technology, to the owner of the free marketing plan. And they also can offer free monitoring to their prospects or to customers to merchants that maybe they lost. Perhaps the merchant is not ready to sign up just yet. If that's the case, they can leave something behind. So including in this plan is, hey, here's free monitoring by Fee Navigator. You get to see what your effective rate is every month. And the owner of this technology, the person that subscribed, essentially gets to see the full statement and be able to engage with the merchant at the time when the merchant is primed to potentially switch to them. Same idea when offering free monitoring to someone that perhaps was their customer and left. So we want to make sure that they're in good hands and offer free monitoring. And then we have the core plan, which makes it easy for smaller teams to basically sign up per user basis at about $45 to $60, depending if they go monthly or annual. And they get the full suite of our solution. So they can literally do everything. And we have a ton that you can see on our website at feenavigator.com. But that's the small, that's the small and solo operators. And then for the larger ISOs and the acquirers, we have the complete plan, which includes integrations with CRMs like Salesforce, API access, so they can build their own solutions on top of ours. So at that point, it's pricing based on the volume tier, based on the number of statements that they have. It's an unlimited number of users they can have, and it's really depending on how many statements they expect to do per month. So yeah, it's a subscription model. It's your typical SaaS. We're not offering payments. We're not competing with anyone. We're completely neutral. And we found that the SaaS model is the most natural for what we do.
Okay. It doesn't sound like you necessarily have competitors. So I typically ask, what differentiates you from your competitors? But maybe instead of that question, maybe it's more, what are the true value points or differentiators that your customers find in what you do? Another way to frame that would be when you go out and talk to a customer, like what are the main sales points that you use? I want to make sure that it's crystal clear to the listeners, the value that you guys bring. So maybe just kind of go through that, like the top sales points or value differentiators that you have.
Well, Greg, everybody has some sort of competitor. So in our case, it's manual analysis. There are folks that will continue doing what they've been doing for many, many years. The problem is that they just won't be able to compete in the digital world where everything has to be instant. So we have that kind of class of competition. And we also have that class plus, what I call it, which is it's still manual analysis, but with some tooling around it to automate certain bits of activity. But look, when we look at the market, we see that this industry, for being as advanced as it is in so many different aspects, it's yet backwards in some glaring aspects. This is one of those very few industries that is left to actually send paper statements. They actually send paper merchant statements to the merchants. There's a minimum cost associated with it, but it's completely unnecessary. And it sort of reduces the pace of innovation. And there are other aspects of this industry that, if you're looking at others, it's just not that efficient. So when we're looking at the market, we're looking at how will credit cards compete with digital wallets? How will the current infrastructure to support credit cards will adapt to the world where, let's say, Bitcoin becomes king or some sort of stable currency? And how do you compete in that world? And how do you transition to a world in which you can shift your product offering quickly to respond to market needs? So as we've seen when the pandemic came, the industry did successfully shift over to electronic payments and contactless, but how do you do it even faster? So the industry is already fully engaged in this transformation. When we look at payments, they're invisible. They're typically nowadays embedded in some sort of software solution that merchants are getting as part of their sort of operating system upgrade for business. And again, in this landscape, our view is how can you take out the gun from the system? And this statement analysis process that is highly manual is something that we just want to remove completely. So that way, the whole industry can move faster, can adapt faster. That's sort of how we look at it. And so when we look at our competition, it's really the opportunity cost of moving to that new world faster. So that's, I would say, our biggest item that we're looking at.
Sure. So how do you see the payments industry changing over the next 2 to 3 years, and how does Fee Navigator fit into that? I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, but are there broader things going to happen, or you feel going to happen in the industry, say over the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I would like to answer it on sort of from two angles. One is from the perspective of participant in the industry, and the other one from the perspective of, let's say, someone that looks from outside, from the perspective of, let's say, social economic trends. So I'm going to start with the last one. So if you're looking from outside, many of the small businesses essentially account for about half of the GDP, and they used to be the engine of growth for the US. It's where innovation happens. It's where sort of the feeling of freedom is established. It's the idea that, look, I don't have to go to a great school to succeed. I am just going to work hard and I find my niche and I will own that niche and I will be successful. And technology allows that to do even more. But the problem is that you have this sort of large inequality between the top 1 or 5% in the society and the rest. And so the middle layer that small businesses start from is sort of disappearing. So the concept of small businesses as being the engine of driving the industry forward is something that is a bit questionable over the next 5 years. It will still, obviously, it's still there, but most likely a lot of the growth will be coming from software companies, from e-commerce. So yeah, technology companies. From inside the industry, we're seeing that. We're seeing that opportunities sort of shifted from banks to software companies. And with the pandemic, the rise of contactless, digital wallets, just automation in general is here to stay. And at the rate at which the US and developed economies are printing money, the idea of having blockchain-based payment alternatives as an option is certainly something that should not be dismissed outright. Stable currencies, for example, have tried to embed some good parts of both fiat currencies and digital currencies. And so where I see the market evolving in the next 2-3 years, I would say it will be continued on this path of transformation, of sort of changing the pipes of commerce for the next generation of growth, whatever that may be. Perhaps, Greg, as we were chatting right before this meeting, perhaps VR will be the next brave world. Perhaps augmented reality will be that. And the way to transact in this world may have nothing to do with traditional payment structures. So it's all transformation, and I think it requires that folks keep an open mind and be ready to adapt quickly.
Right, right. Well, the way I always think about it is the beauty of this industry is that no matter what happens with all this transformation, people still have to pay and businesses still have to pay. So our industry feels pretty secure for quite some time. It may be different as it has been just over the last 10 years. It may be different with frictionless payments, the things that Uber has brought to the table where you don't even really realize you've paid, and that kind of stuff I think will continue to advance. But at the end of the day, there's still a transaction that takes place and there still are companies that have to make that happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's no question. Payments are here to stay. It's just that who will be the next future leaders?
Exactly. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk more about you. Tell us about your journey to the role that you have there as the CEO. You talked a little bit about having a couple of startups, but maybe kind of walk us through your career journey and how you got to be the CEO there.
Sure. So my first entrepreneurial endeavor was in drug development. Together with 2 other partners, we created Clarix, which was a sort of operational efficiency in drug development company. We would help pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, Abbott, to run these complex multinational clinical trials by telling them which drug to ship where in the world and by implementing the specifics of the clinical trial that would allow them to randomize patients into specific treatment regimens that they may have. So using our technology, pharma companies could run these complex trials all over the world. And we exited that in 2008, luckily 2 weeks prior to the crash. And my next thing was a home improvement company called HouseFix, launched that at TechCrunch Disrupt in San Francisco as one of the finalists there. And about a year into it, I decided to divest because it just didn't fit our team structure. And once we realized that it was a lot of it a marketing play, which we were not well suited to deal with. Anyway, we divested that. I still get phone calls from folks that want to create something similar to get my thoughts. So it's funny. Then I advised the Dream Ventures, which is a business accelerator. I was an advisor with them. And as part of that, I got involved with an opportunity to create the next generation of patient privacy monitoring in tandem with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So we created this technology that allowed us to ingest billions of electronic medical records metadata and map out how each employee in the health system interacts with others via the patients that they touch to see if there's any risk of potential patient information disclosures. And alongside with that, we created this bottom-up, time-driven, activity-based costing model. So that way you can understand how everybody's spending time in this EHR, figure out who are the most at risk of burnout, doctors, nurses, what have you, who are the best ones that are skilled in training a specific area. So exited that in January 2019 to a division of a publicly traded company in Canada. Then I got involved with Ion, who had been pestering me for a while to try to put this technology company together. And it just the time aligned, and that's how I got involved with it. And we're very fortunate to have Cord as advisors, Obi Rolls from PaySafe, Brian Godey from Aurora, former Fiserv, and of course Larry Stone, that many of your listeners may know from the days of Mercury. And I'm humbled to learn from them every day. And I'm really excited about what sort of creation can be generated by combining their knowledge with our drive to sort of automate things and make things super, super simple.
Right. So what are some things you're passionate about? So maybe just talk about one thing work-related and maybe one thing personal-related that you're passionate about.
I think it's both. I think artificial intelligence is one of these misunderstood terms. It's a marketing term. It means everything and nothing. So machine learning and technology in general is where my passion is. And there's great advances that have been done in reinforcement learning with AlphaGo, AlphaGo Zero, MuZero nowadays. And the search for GAI, or generalized artificial intelligence, is something that's in the background, and it's sort of like the next leap of mankind if we get to that. And it's exciting to kind of keep an eye on the evolution and see how we as mankind, as humans, could leap to the next phase of growth by combining our drive, energy, and creativity with that of the machines. So that's something I'm very passionate about.
Okay. Well, Adrian, we've covered a lot of ground here about Fee Navigator, about you and your journey, as well as the payments industry as a whole. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
So whenever there's change, whenever there's technological change, folks are afraid of losing their jobs. So you're dealing with two forces, the complementary force and the substitution force. The complementary essentially helps, and the substitution sort of takes away. So for the folks that are afraid of embracing change offered by technology, just keep in mind that the expectation in the 1800s was that New York will be sky high in manure, in horse manure, because nobody perceived the creation of the car. So there will always be jobs. There will be different jobs. And there will be probably more human-suited jobs that require creativity, require the things the machine cannot do. And so just fully embrace change. The future is always going to be better than the past. So I just want to say that for the folks that or afraid of fully embracing change. And through what we do, could be perceived as sort of threatening some segment of the industry. And what we're saying is that we're here to help. And nobody really likes spending time looking at numbers all day. That cannot be somebody's wish to do in life. Right? They're better suited at engaging with merchants, at talking, at like empathy, things that machines can never do or cannot do yet.
Well, great, Adrian. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I know your time's very valuable, so I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
And to all you listeners out there, I thank you for your time as well. And until the next story.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Leaders in Payments podcast. Make sure you visit our website at leadersinpayments.com, where you can subscribe to the show and where you'll find our show notes. If you enjoyed listening, please share on your social channels as well.